Great. Hi, Rochelle. How are you?
Hi, I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. It's so good to have this conversation with you. I love talking about relationships and happiness, and you're a pro in that area. So I'm really curious to hear your insights on some different questions and points we're going to bring up. But please, share with the good people who you are and what you do.
My name is Rochelle Gapere. I am a happiness coach. I'm also an author of the book One Happy Thought at a Time 30 Days to a Happier You. It's an Amazon best-selling book. I'm an attorney and I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm Jamaican. I was born in Washington, D.C., raised in Jamaica, went to undergrad in Nashville, and now I live in Miami where I went to law school. So that's just me in a nutshell.
Awesome. All right, let's get into it. What are the characteristics of a healthy relationship, and how can healthy relationships enhance happiness?
So, so for one, for sure, when I think about a healthy relationship, the first thing that comes to mind is emotional safety. I feel like when you are in a relationship, and it could be intimate or just regular platonic friendships, right? If you feel safe to show up as your best self or your worst self, right? You could be vulnerable, you could be your most winning state. I feel like being in a space where you feel safe, that's the foundation of a healthy relationship to me, at least, right? A big part of happiness for me is peace. And so I also think that when you're in a relationship where your peace is protected, and that's your peace of mind. Yeah, get the person who you are in a relationship with really cares about your emotional well-being. So some of the characteristics that I would say contribute to that are respect, right? Respect for your opinions, for differing views, respect for your outlook on life, trust, knowing that that person, they are reliable, they say what they mean what they say, and you can actually count on them. I think that is also super important. And communication, like, I think communication is just such an important characteristic in any relationship, because who doesn't want to be able to express themselves freely without like blowback? And when I think about even my personal happiness, the one time I can pinpoint where my happiness was totally impacted was when I was in a relationship that just was no longer good for me, right? And one of the things, I just didn't trust the person anymore. I didn't trust that they had my best interests at heart, and I absolutely didn't feel emotionally safe with him anymore because I felt like he didn't have my back. And so all of those things together, I believe, like, especially the communication piece, there's a point when I just was like, well, I don't need to express myself to anymore, because even when I'm telling you what hurts me or what doesn't make me feel good or I don't feel safe anymore with you, it was almost like a wall, like, oh well, great, you just take care of it yourself, right? So I would say the trust, the communication, the respect, but emotional safety, I think, is what undergirds all of that.
Absolutely. Wow, that's so true. And when you think about mental health, what role does that play in achieving happiness, and how can individuals work on improving their own mental health?
So mental health. So I would say that when you're in a good mental state, you are more likely to be positive. You show up with like really good energy. When your mental health is compromised, you are more prone to be anxious or depressed or, sad. And listen, as a happiness coach, I like to just be very clear. There is no one emotion that you're going to feel all the time. You're never just going to be happy every single day of your life, right? The whole purpose of the work that I do is to help people build emotional resilience, so that in the event that your mental health, your mental well-being is compromised, or you feel shaky, or you don't feel as like sure in who you are in that season, you have the tools to bounce back, right? It's not that, oh, you're never going to feel sad, because sadness is a good indicator that something is off. Anxiety is a good indicator that something is off in your life. So good mental health, ultimately, it helps it and it enhances your happiness, because when your mental health, your mental well-being is well adjusted, you feel good to thrive. You trust your opinions, you trust your judgment when your mental health is in a good space. But it doesn't mean that, okay, in the instances where you are feeling, oh, I just don't feel myself, or my mental health is compromised in the season, this is when you need to go and seek help, right? I am a huge advocate for therapy and coaching, and I cannot underscore how important therapy has been in my life. Like, I committed to it last year, August, and the growth that I've had since making that commitment, I literally emailed my therapist the other day and I was like, happy 1 year anniversary. Thank you for changing my life. I love you so much. I wish I'd met you sooner.
I love
But,
it.
because she's been so instrumental in my mental health and my mental well being, because she's also helped me to see the gaps and the blocks that I would never have necessarily been able to see for myself. So it was nice having that neutral third party come in and just shed some light on certain things that I just wasn't even aware of.
Yeah, yeah, my goodness. Such a valuable resource for sure.
Yeah.
And when you think about the connection between happiness and having a sense of purpose or meaning in life, are the two kind of correlated, you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, I am definitely not one of those people who is just like, oh, everybody needs to know their purpose and you need to know your purpose and you need to know your purpose. Yes, it is good to know your purpose, but I started practicing law at 24 years old. That's the only thing I'd ever wanted to do my entire life since I was 3 years old. If you ask me, bro, what do you want to be when you grow up? A lawyer. Until I went to law school, and that first semester, I was just like, oh, wait, I don't think this is it. I love learning. I didn't necessarily like the practice of law, but I didn't know what else I'd be doing. So even for the years when I was practicing law, and I still practice law, I had a sense of fulfillment. I knew it wasn't what I was called to do, but I had a sense of fulfillment. I won't sit here and say I was sad or that I was unhappy. But I will say, though, that when I did come into my true purpose, which is happiness coaching, which life led me here, the breakup, then I started studying the science of happiness, blah, 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 blah. It has unlocked a different level of excitement in my life. I wake up every day bouncing off the walls. Like, okay, whose life can I transform today? Because I know my system works, because I lived it. I remember being in that space where I felt confused about what I was supposed to do next. And purpose, it is so fluid. You could be one thing in one season and another thing in one season. And so that's why I'm very, very careful about this whole purpose argument, because I don't want people to think that you are just one dimensional. You're not. We are multifaceted human beings. So in one season, your purpose could be to be the best mom to your newborn. The next season, it could be to be the best motivational speaker. And it could be the two of those things in one season as well, right? So I want to give people the permission to not get so fixated on, oh, did I find my purpose and am I living my purpose every day? But every day wake up and think about, do I feel proud? Do I feel good about the things, the decisions, the actions I'm going to take today? And I believe those little nuggets will lead you into the space where you're living a life where you're like, this feels good. This feels good. But I don't want you to think it's just this one ta-da moment. Some people have it, but I like to be the truth bearer. Listen, I found my purpose at 36 years old. 36 years old. So that means I've been practicing law for 12 years before I ever figured it out, right? The purpose. And 3 years from now, I may be doing something else. And that could be my new purpose. Or when I'm a wife, that's my new purpose. Or a mom, my new purpose. So I don't want to ever make anybody feel that they are underachieving if right now in their life they don't know what their quote unquote purpose is. Your purpose is to wake up and live a life that you're proud of. Your purpose is to feel good in your body, in your mind, and in your soul. And you could do that every single day, no matter what title is attached to your name. So let's drop the purpose, title, collaboration, and think of it more of a holistic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much, to make sure that each day that you are doing what's best for you, that you're proud of yourself, that you're positively impacting others. And I think a lot of times too, people realize or fall into their purpose. The people around them kind of help them figure that out because they continue to go to them for a certain thing that they're really great at. So sometimes, if we don't find our purpose finds us, depending on like who we're in community with. And thinking about community and social connections, how do strong social connections contribute to an individual's overall happiness and well-being?
So I will just piggyback on what you just said. My mom knew I was going to be a life coach long before I ever knew.
Look
So
at that.
there, long before she would tell me, and I'm like, "Mommy, no, no, whatever. That makes no sense." She's like, "Rochelle, all your friends call you for life advice, for pep talks. You are always doing that for free, like you just do it." And I'm like, "That's the point, for free." And she's just like, "That is the point." So a couple of years even prior to doing this work, I had gone on a life coach call, and I remember being on the phone, and I was like, "No, this isn't for me." But when the student is ready, the master appears,
Look
and
at
your
that.
gifts will make room for you. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't have ever been ready until that season of my life where God made me have to, I had to stand still, and I was in full surrender, right? Which is when my purpose actually found me, as you said. So, in terms of community, which is why it's so important that you have the right people in your space, Harvard has one of the longest studies on what makes individuals happy. Actually, it's the longest scientific study. I think it's like 85, 86 years old. And they follow various people and ask them, like, "Hey, check in every couple of years. What makes you happy? What makes you happy?" What they found is social connection is the biggest
Yeah.
predictor of happiness. Not
Absolutely.
money, not good health, social connection. The people who you are surrounding yourself with have a direct impact on your happiness. And I like to give this as an example and as an exercise for people to do. Look in your phone on the 5 people who you speak to most. Look on your call log, your WhatsApp, your text. How do those people make you feel? Because I will tell you, if you are talking to 5 negative Nancy's, you will be the number 6. If you
Yes.
are talking to 5 broke people, you will be the 6th broke person. And Jim
Facts.
Rohn has a quote. He says, "We are the sum of the 5 people that we are spending our most time with," right? And it
Right.
makes all the sense in the world. I know the friends that when I talk to them, I feel good. It doesn't even matter. It could be something hard going on in my life, and I have a little nugget of wisdom because of our interaction. But I also know the people who I would never call in a tough season because they would just keep going into the doom and gloom with
Right.
me. "Yeah, girl, life is bad. There are no men out there. Dating sucks. Oh my God, the divorce rate is 50%. Da, 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 da." And then I know the friends who are like, "Girl, if people get married every day. Of course you're getting married.
See,
Women have babies
look
over 40 every day. Duh, like why would you not be one of those women?" And so the energy shifts based on who you have in your sphere. And so I like to ask people, who are you in your circle? Because you can't, it's reciprocity. You can't be expected to have all the good vibes, but don't bring any good vibes. Do people want to be around you? Are you the negative Nancy?
true. It is so, so true. The people you spend time with, what are you consuming in terms of like entertainment? What are you reading? All those things that seep into your spirit. What are you eating? What are you sipping on? Like it all impacts, your happiness for sure and your life.
It really does. And when you're in a hard season, that's one of the things about social connection that also helps because everybody, it's inevitable. Life, we have our ups and downs. But if you're in a season where you're having a rough patch, that is a part of the social connection where it benefits you that you're around people who are pouring into your life. Let's say, God forbid, you lose a loved one. Are they coming over to pray with you? Are they dropping off food? Are they ensuring that you are going outside to get fresh air? If you're just isolated by yourself in your own little world with no community to kind of anchor you, it's hard. You feel isolated, you feel sad, and you will just keep sinking deeper into the sadness or the depression. But when you have a community rallying around you, yes, it's still hard, but you know people love you. You know that you have people that you can lean on, right? That makes all the difference in the world. So I think it's so important, especially the older we get, I realize people become more isolated. And that's why I'm not an advocate of the no new friends phenomenon. Like, oh, no new friends. Yes,
Every
because
day, new
you,
friends.
exactly, you meet different people in different seasons of your life who could teach you new things, right? Who could expose you to new ideas. They could be your new brunch crew or your new travel buddies. And people are like, "But how do you meet people?" Just start doing the things that you enjoy. Do you like golf? Sign up for a golf class. Do you like to read books? Look on your library website and see what activities they or events they have coming up. It's, you have to be an active participant in your happiness and in building community. And so when we were in college, it was easy, of course, to meet friends. They live right down the hall in your dorm, or they're in your sorority. The older we get, it becomes harder. And, another statistic I'll say, we're more connected than ever before in terms of digital connection. But people are lonelier than they've ever been in the history of mankind.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It's It's true. I preach community all the time, and I'm extremely biased because my life and my world is community, right? I believe that we should all find multiple communities to be a part of because different communities are going to speak to us and serve us, and we serve them in different ways. And to your point, I'm always reading studies as well that the healthiest, happiest people across the globe have community, where they're living to 90 and 100 and have good health and they're walking around. They have community, people who are checking on them, they're checking on, they're playing cards with, but it's the isolated folk. And even I think in America, I think they say on average after we retire that like death is like around the corner because we're not doing the thing and we're not really probably speaking to people as much as often because work brings us into community sometimes too. But it is so important. I always love when people back me up. So thank you, thank you. It's so true.
We are aligned. We are
Yeah.
aligned.
So when you think about gratitude and appreciation, how important are those two for fostering happy relationships?
So, the thing with gratitude, actually, that's my number one value. It is gratitude. I am such a grateful, gracious, like, I'm just so for everything because I know it's just such a blessing to just be alive, just to wake up in my right mind. Like, I don't take that for granted any day. And like, I get excited, like, oh my God, I woke up today. Oh, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Right? Just that on a baseline. So, I will say that gratitude in terms of relationships, people want to feel appreciated. So like if you make gratitude one of your core values where you start looking around in your life in the world thinking, okay, what am I grateful for today? 3 things that I'm grateful for. Actually, I give my clients 3 new things that they're grateful for every day. They have to just do that exercise because so much of our unhappiness is focused on what we lack as opposed to what we have.
Yeah.
And so in relationships, it's easy when you're with somebody after a while to start taking them for granted. And you're like, okay, well, and then I'm like, but remember the days when you prayed for this. You prayed for this man, or you prayed for that woman, and you prayed for these children. Remember, just put yourself back in that situation. So how dare you now complain that you have to drive your kids to their basketball game? You really wanted children at one point. So if you
Right.
can tap into the fact that everything around you, all the blessings that are afforded to you, you are not entitled to any of those things. And at a split second, any of those things can be taken away from you. Your health, your family, your friends, your children, your job. And so being able to ground yourself in that perspective, it is such a huge shift and it impacts our happiness so much that if you just go for the next week and you decide every single day, I'm going to tell my partner one thing I'm grateful for them for. You will feel that shift in the relationship. Just anything. Oh, hey babe, I'm grateful that you made omelets this morning. And then he'll probably be like, oh, who is this lady? Hey honey, I'm grateful that you put the toilet seat down. Don't people Human beings like to be validated and affirmed. We react better to positive reinforcement than we do to negative. And the problem is, and so there is a study that shows for every negative comment you make to a person, individual, friend, whoever it is, for every negative one, you have to make 5 positive comments to counteract that one negative thing. So when you go through your day and you think you're like, oh, and you didn't do this, and then you didn't do that, and then you always do that, and you're complaining and nagging, and so you just keep piling on that negative, negative, negative. You are so far out of the positive side, and then nobody wants to be around people who make them feel bad. Life is hard enough.
Exactly.
Life is hard enough. Like, I don't want to be around somebody who's always criticizing me or complaining about me or trying to diminish who I am or diminish my value. But even if we don't even go that far, just a simple act of saying thank you to somebody who is doing things for you, who they don't have to do it.
Right.
They're not obligated to do it. They're choosing to do it. And so if we look on the lens, or we look through gratitude and appreciation through that lens, I think we really could just transform all our relationships.
So true. Everything you said, my goodness, so many gems and nuggets there. But it's amazing how our perspective totally impacts our life and our how happy we think we are or are not, like what we're really focusing on. And it's hard to show gratitude and be unappreciative at the same time, right? Like if you're focusing on what you have, what you prayed for, the prayers you're living in today, the answers and the good health, like all the things, it's hard to be like, ugh, I wanted the dress in blue and then they only had, the silly things. I used to always tell young people, especially people who are super entitled, who complained about unimportant things, I need you to go on a mission trip. I need you to understand what struggle really is, because this where's my cold brew issue is not an issue really. So I love that. I love that. How can cultural and societal factors influence an individual's happiness and relationships?
So, I mean, this question, we could stay here for 3 days, right? Talking about this. So let me see where I want to pinpoint what I would want to focus on. I think I am a rebel in a certain way, right? In terms of society's quote unquote expectations of what relationships should look like, the timelines and everything that they try to force on us, I always kind of give some pushback, because I'm like, who are the people who made these rules? Who made these rules? So we're all like sheep following this script that society, culture, and listen, subconsciously it is hard to overcome what you've been hearing your whole life, what your grandma, your great grandma, your ancestors have been telling you. But I just want to be a contrarian right now for a little bit to ask, who said that was the right way? Who made those rules? Right? So I am 43 years old. I am proud to be my age. I love being my age. And so I remember at 35 years old, when I was in a relationship that I absolutely knew was not right for me anymore. My biggest concern and fear was, okay, I'm 35. Society says that after 30, it becomes hard to get married, and then he's not going to be able to have a child, and just all these things society says.
Yep.
And it's also cultural, right? I'm Jamaican, my dad is Ugandan, and there's a certain expectation, like you get to a certain age and you just move through these various like check boxes. And then one day, as I'm contemplating, why am I sitting down in this relationship that clearly is not serving me anymore, I was just like, why do I even want these things? Why do I want to get married? I don't think I'd ever asked myself that question. I just knew it was the next thing on the checklist. Oh, graduate from law school, have a successful career, get married. So I paused. Why do you want to get married? I had to answer 7 whys to that question. 7 whys. Like I said, okay, because I'm 35. Okay, you're 35. Why? And I had to answer 7 whys for it to make sense to me. Then I started thinking, but who told you that this is the right way? Who told you that? And so if society, who is society? Is it some 7 white men who are sitting in a room who told all of us that we need to subscribe to this way of living our lives? So I am here to challenge people about what happiness looks like for themselves. We could talk about society all day. Society, if all of us were doing the exact same things at the same time, the world would be monotonous and boring.
Exactly.
Every single fruit, every single plant does not bloom in the same season. The beauty of life, variety is the spice of life, right? So I challenge people. We all know what the society and the cultural kind of norms, but why are you doing the things that you're doing? Who made them the expert on your individual life? You wake up every single day with yourself. I know at 35 years old, I was not ready to be nobody's mom. And had I gotten married at 35, I'd have been divorced right now. Let me just keep it real. I never had the tools or the emotional maturity to be in no healthy marriage. I just did not. So I am glad I released myself from the expectations of what society and culture said I should be doing at that time. because I would have failed, right? And so a big part of happiness is your personal beliefs. Get clear on what it is that makes you feel good. Do you even want to be a mom? Because if we leave it to society, every single woman should be a mother, but that's not true.
Right.
There's so many women, and I see the comments on Instagram, especially right now, in this whole election cycle where IVF and fertility and motherhood is such a big issue. And I'm just like, how dare people who don't know me tell me what's right for me? Right? How selfish is that to believe that you have never met me one day in your life? You don't know anything about me. But you are telling me that because I am a woman, I must be a mother. Get on your own agenda. You are your society. But I would say figure out what it is for your situation, what is right for you first, and then you can make all your decisions from an empowered place.
Yeah, so true. I think that people will become so much more free when they're less concerned with what other people think and really focus on the things that make sense for their lives. And to your point, if you're going to take someone's advice, you should evaluate their life as well. Are they happy? Are they, quote unquote, successful? If you would you trade lives with them? And if the answer is no, then that's another reason to reevaluate why their opinion even matters in the first place.
Exactly. And we have to be so mindful, as you say, who we are allowing to speak into our lives and who we take advice from. And I believe everybody has something to teach you. It
Right.
doesn't mean that, oh, because somebody failed at something. I believe failure actually is one of the best teachers. But just be very, very mindful and cognizant and get still. Learn to know your own voice, your inner knowing about what is good for you. A lot of us are just not getting still enough to hear that still small voice, whether it's I'm a believer, so I know it's the Holy Spirit. When I get silent and I'm like, okay, God, just order my steps. What is it that I am missing and I need to learn right now in this moment? And you'll be surprised in that stillness, girl. The answers come, child. The
It's
answers come.
It is so true. He wants to get our attention. And when we are listening and alert and paying attention, and the less we listen to that, the dimmer and dimmer and dimmer it gets. Like we have to really be intentional and obedient to listening to that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. So, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling to find happiness, even if they may have supportive relationships around them?
Go to therapy. Go to therapy. Every single human being needs to go to therapy. That's it. Period. Point blank. I will tell you straight up. It is the gift that keeps on giving. You are a product of your parents, your environment, what they learn, what their grandparents learn, what the people before them learn. So you are in an operating system that you just think is the way the world should be. And to some extent, nothing is bad with your operating system, but sometimes you just need differing opinions, not ones that you have to get from your friends and your family who have known you already. So they are going to just be telling you what they think you want to hear, and they're also looking on things from their lens, right? Not, and they love you, so they're doing things hopefully for your benefit.
Right.
But I cannot tell you how important it is to sit with somebody who doesn't know you from anywhere, who is professionally trained. This is not just somebody who just fell out of a tree. LeBron, Stephen Curry, they have natural skills, right? They have natural skills, but they still have a coach.
Exactly.
Who are you to believe that you could just wake up, be born, and just have all the tools and that's
Right.
it? No, you have some tools, but I believe in maximizing one's potential. I believe in optimizing your life. And in order to optimize your life, thrive, flourish, become the best, greatest version of yourself, you are going to have to make the effort to learn new skills, to unlock things that you did not even know that you were doing because you were just doing them. And so I will say that happiness is available to all of us. Listen, some people are more willing to sit in familiar unhappiness familiar discomfort because of fear of what's on the other side. Let me tell y'all something. I am here as a testament, and I will be a walking billboard for this. Sign up for three therapy sessions, just three, and you'll be surprised at the things that that therapist will unlock
So
in
true.
your life. Nobody say you have to do therapy forever and ever and ever, amen, right? But between the books and the tools that they will give you to read, the homework, and just for you to see some of the blind spots. For you to see some of the blind spots. And it's such a good thing. It's a good exercise in curiosity. You will learn and become better if you constantly become curious about yourself, about who you are. Each season you grow. Like you're not dead. For the rest of your life until you die, you are growing, right? And so why not have somebody who is trained to help you hold your hand in that next level of your growth? And so I would say, I mean, obviously I could tell you all the tools of happiness and the gratitude practice and the 5 people and blah, blah. No, go and get therapy one-on-one. And then from there, unlock some of the little obstacles that are holding you back from being your most maximized self.
Yeah.
And then we could have another conversation about the practical ways to keep incorporating those daily habits so it could just be your natural state of existing.
Yes, yes, yes. Totally true. I totally agree with that. That's amazing advice. Rochelle, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking
Thanks for
time
having me.
today to share your experience, to share your insight. It's been great. And I think it's a topic that everyone, not even some people, everyone really needs to think about, consider whether they consider themselves happy or in great relationships or not, that everyone knows someone who could use some assistance and use some guidance and making things a little bit better. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.